Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Discovering the Dead. There is something unique about silent film stars. They have to be perfect acting through their bodies instead of their mouths. Since it's been so long, it's reasonable to say that they are all gone by now, but they remain forever young through the silent screen. One of the first silent film actresses that I've become interested in was a girl named Lucille Ricksen, a tragic case of Hollywood poisoning the youth. Lucille Ricksen, born Ingeborg Myrtle Elizabeth Erickson, was born August 22, 1910 to Samuel and Ingeborg Nielsen Erickson, both originating from Denmark. After a separation by her parents, her mother made the risky choice of entering her daughter into Hollywood at age 10. Lucille signed a contract with Samuel Goldwyn in 1924, a time where the world was in trouble. Lucille set off to make 10 silent films. Some of them include The Galloping Fish and The Valley of the Wolf. Throughout the early 1920s, Ricksen appeared in a number of high-profile acting roles, although in many instances she had to portray a character much older than her years. Her first assigned role was a leading female actress in a major film that was the 1926 film The Rendezvous, a World War I satire in which she was cast to play a deaf woman. Ricksen signed a contract with Marshall Nillen in 1922, casting her in the drama The Stranger's Banquet. She starred along Claire Windsor and Hobart Bosworth, and the film saw success both financially and critically, no doubt with the help of Ricksen. She prided herself on her young face. Her youthful appearance seemed to win her over some fans, as when she was 14, Ricksen was named one of WAMPA's baby stars. Back in the old days, Hollywood pushed long hours and little time for personal health, and it caught up with Lucille quickly. The 14-year-old suffered from extreme exhaustion and malnourishment. She became infected with tuberculosis, a rare disease now, but a deadly and common disease back in the 20s. The 14-year-old Lucille didn't stand a chance. She became bedridden far too early. By early 1925, her condition has worsened. Her mother loved her dearly, as it was seen with her mother maintaining a bedside vigil over her daughter. Paul Byrne, a screenwriter, kindly accompanied the sick Lucille, offering her flowers and magazines through her time bedridden. It's so amazing to see people come together when others are sick, acting like a parental figure. I think that's what he was doing. He was acting like a father that she never had. Lucille's story is one of the most tragic I've ever heard of due to the fact her mother had a heart attack, possibly due to over-worrying, over-stressing herself over her daughter's medical condition. She ended up collapsing on top of her daughter before dying. I can't imagine this would be mentally good for a sick, bedridden 14-year-old girl. Lucille was strong, but there was only so much she could do. Some of her last words included, "Mother wouldn't want me die." Mother said, "Wonderful future. Going to do big things. Won't die. I won't." But on March 13th, 1925, she passed away from complications of tuberculosis. She was just 14. Lucille was cremated and her ashes were buried with her mother at Foreign Lawn in Glendale, California. Her last film was a partially lost film, The Denial. Lucille's story, in my opinion, is not looked over as often as it should be. 14 years old is a tragic age to die. And along with all the complications she had, the malnourishment, the overexhaustion Hollywood pushed on her, I think this should be a tale to tell your children not to fall for peer pressure. Along with her mother passing before her in just a couple of years, it's just so sad to listen to. In the next couple of years, she will be dead for 100 years. Let her memory live on forever. Lucille is accompanied by many silent film stars, one of them being Mabel Normand. Mabel Normand was born on November 9th, 1893 to Mary and Claudeman Normand. She was quite a hard worker, as Normand worked for Vingraphic Studios in New York City for just $25 per week. Normand started off as an artist model for Charles Dan Gibson, creator of Gibson Girls. After being inspired by a friend, she set out to be a star in films. She found work in biograph shorts. With biographs moving to California, she would work with Vitagraph, where she would make a series of comedic shorts such as Betty, one co-starring the first comedy film star John Bunny. By 1912, Normand was writing her own films, and by 1914, she was directing her own films. By this point, she was a major star, continually topping fan polls by new movie magazines. While the discovery of Charles Chaplin varies from everyone telling to telling, everyone involved agrees that Sennett would not have hired or kept him on if it had not been for Normand. Chaplin's second short for the company was Normand's Mabel's Strange Predicament, which he starred in and directed in. This is the first film Chaplin created his iconic tramp character for. Chaplin and Normand had a comedic chemistry where they would go on to team in a series of shorts until Chaplin left Keystone in 1915. Normand and Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle began to team up together in a series of shorts, although they have acted together before. This series is also popular, and the pair continued acting together until they both left Keystone for better pay. By this time, Normand became engaged to a man named Sennett. But that didn't last long because it turns out he was a cheater. Normand had to create her own production company, Mabel Normand Film Company, to make her own features, and the first project was Mickey, and Sennett handing off her business affairs resulted in the film not being released until 1918. Normand dissolved the company and signed with Goldwyn, where she went on to make comedy features. These movies would be akin to sitcoms. They were shorter than a lot of features, but still features. Many are lost, though several have turned up in the past 110 years. Normand continued making films and was signed by Hale Roach Studios in 1926. Fun facts. Normand was writing her own films by 1912 and directing them by 1914, making her one of the first women to do so. She is believed to be one of the first actresses to receive a pie in the face on film, and it was delivered by Ford Sterling. But Normand's health has been on the decline due to tuberculosis. After an extended stay in Puerto Rico sanatorium, she died from tuberculosis on February 23, 1930, in Monrovia, California, at just age 36. She is interred as Mabel Normand Cody at Calvary Cemetery in Los Angeles. Both these girls lost their lives to the dreaded disease tuberculosis. Both inspired and both led a community of silent actors from the early 1900s. I am certainly happy about the modern medicine that we have today. Remember, this is not a sad place. This is a place where we can instead remember the lives these girls led and the legacies they both lived, and they will live on through our memories and love. May Lucille Ricksen and Mabel Normand